A very good evening, everyone. I'm Indazul Mondal. Madam already described my CV a bit, but still I'm introducing with you all. I am Indazul Mondal and I have been serving as Division Engineer Electrical in WBSCDCL for the past 14 years. Firstly, I would like to thank the management and all the faculty members of Electrical Engineering Department of Vivekananda schools of Diploma for organizing such a wonderful faculty development program. It's an honor to be here today and to have the opportunity to share my thoughts with you all. Today, my topic is, which is visible on my PPT, distribution grid modernization for sustainable future, challenges, innovation, and policy pathways. In this session, we will talk about new challenges and opportunity in the power sector, especially related to renewable energy, smart grid technologies, and improving the reliability of distribution network. I'm truly glad to be a part of this discussion. I look forward to share my experience as well as learning from you all expertise present here. Thank you all for joining. I hope we have an interesting and meaningful session together. In my presentation, I will give a simple and clear overview of how our energy system is changing fast and why modernization of the distribution grid is necessary. I look forward to an engaging insight session with you ahead. So first of all, in this slide, we can see that more than 73% of the global greenhouse gases, as per the data of International Energy Agency 2024, that more than 73% of global greenhouse gases emissions comes from the energy sector. And we all know that in the Paris Climate Exchange Agreement, we are all committed to meet the 1.5 degree centigrade to meet the 1.5 degree centigrade temperature rise target. So we should not go beyond that target limit. And if we really really wish to get this achievement, then we should be there are no alternative option other than to adopt the renewable energy resources, because we know, all of you know, that currently most of the energy comes from the coal base. From the coal base, coal. So burning of coal, that is an issue for greenhouse gases. So if we really intended to reduce this greenhouse gas impact, then we have to enhance the renewable energy. So which is currently 2025, if we take about the statistical data, so renewable energy now account around 33% of global electricity generation in 2025, which was 10% in 2010. Solar PV and wind make up nearly 90% new capacity addition worldwide. We will see later on in this later slide. And for India, our target is by 2023, 500 gigawatt energy should come from non-fossil fuel. Current progress, around 190 gigawatt installed from solar, wind, hydro, and biomass. Our goal is by 2030, 50% of total power consumption should be from renewable energy resources. If we take the statistics, if we see the statistics, so this is our installed capacity from different power sources. That is around as of March 31st, 2025. We get energy around 46.68% energy from coal, around 22.23% from solar, around 10.53% around wind, and from hydro around 10.04%, from oil 5.29%, and from small hydro 1.07%. And total generation installed capacity as of 31st December, as on 31st March 2025, this is around 475 gigawatt. So if we see that 46.7% is coming from coal, and around 33% is coming from solar plus wind. Now this is the graph for installed capacity. If we go back in 2019, so total installed capacity was 3,56,101. Now it is 4,75,221 megawatt, in the range of megawatt. But if we convert it in gigawatt, around 475.211 gigawatt. Now we can see here, this is the installed capacity added, which has been added over the years. So mostly from 2019 to 2025, mostly we have added renewable energy. We have added new plants which are renewable in nature. And you can see mostly there are a slight improvement in coal, capacity addition. And you can see some portion of large hydro has been added, but mostly that energy capacity has been added in the in renewable energy category. This is our projected trajectory for achieving the goal of 800 gigawatt total capacity and 500 gigawatt from renewable resources. And this is the projected capacity from different power sources in 2030. So that will, we have projected share should be 35% in 2030, and if we need to achieve that target, then we should at least total installed capacity should be 280 gigawatt. So our target is that more than, at least 50% of the total generation should come from renewable energy resources. So if our target is 800 gigawatt total, and out of which 50%, 280 gigawatt, and here it is 120 gigawatt. So accumulating 400 gigawatts should come from renewable energy resources. Now for doing this, so what we are doing, we are actually basically we are reducing the coal-based generation. Not reducing, we are the percentage of the energy that will come from the renewable that will come from the coal-based power source coal. So that percentage we have to reduce it down. So because of that, we are adding more and more renewable energy resources. Now, what will be the impact on the grid? This surge in renewable capacity, both globally and nationally, is transforming the operational dynamics of the grid, demanding two-way power flow capability, advanced forecasting and automation, energy storage integration, updated regulatory and reliability standards. So earlier, our grid was actually conventional grid. That was actually we have the concept that the power will be generated in a remote place and that will be distributed to the end consumer. But now the concept has been somehow changed, that the end consumers can also generate the electricity and can also feed to the grid. So when we have designed our grid, so that time we haven't taken into consideration these facts. Now, when these facts are coming into play, so that time we have to think of the grid modernization. So that is the, for surge integration renewable capacity, we have this demand that should be incorporated in the grid. Now, major challenges in renewable energy integration. So key challenges, that is intermittency and variability, energy storage limitation, grid integration issue, reduced system inertia and stability issue, transmission constraint issue, and policy and regulatory barriers. Intermittency and variability, that is solar, land and environmental impact, economic viability, and market design. So intermittency and variability. So all of knowing that solar and wind generation depend on weather and time of the day and require balancing through storage or flexible generation. Energy storage limitation. So current battery technologies are expensive and have limited lifespan and need for large scale efficient and sustainable storage system. Now grid integration issue. That is, existing grids are designed for centralized generation. Integration of decentralized and renewable demands smart grid. Now, if we talk about the more details into intermittency and variability, unlike conventional plants that provide stable and controlled output, but renewable energy sources such as solar and wind are inherently weather dependent. Solar generation drops during cloudy conditions or at night, while wind speeds fluctuate unpredictably. Here is the during the daytime. Here is the concept is there, duck curve. All of you might be known about the duck curve. So this is the key modern power system operation. When now what is duck curve? Duck curve is the represent the net electricity demand, total demand minus renewable energy generation, especially solar, over the course of day. What happened during midday? Solar PV generation is at peak. This significantly reduces the demand that grid must supply from conventional sources. So the net demand dips. When this net demand is plotted, when the net demand is plotted on a curve, the shape of the curve looks like a duck with a deep belly during the day and steep rise neck in the evening. So in that scenario, what we need? So in the evening, we need ram rate stress. So conventional plant must ram up generation very quickly in the evening, sometimes at 20 to 30 megawatt per minute, which many older units cannot handle efficiently. Over generation risks during midday, excess solar can lead to negative electricity price or force curtailment, costing renewable energy. Voltage and frequency instability, rapid shift in generation causes frequency deviation and stress on the grid controls. Now, if we talked about the energy storage limitation, batteries are costly and having limited capacity and life. We can't build for a gigawatt range capacity. I mean, capacitor bank or capacity. I mean, battery. So there have some limitation. We can go up to 10 megawatt or 30 megawatt or 50 megawatt, not more than that. Because if we go for the large battery storage, so that time the cost, I mean, economy will be the main barrier. Economy and the not only economy, I will say economy and the technology will be the barrier. So nowadays, lots of research are going on in these issues, especially where some of them they are trying to be hydrogen battery, but that in that case, that is efficiency is the issue. For hydrogen battery, if we talked about the lithium battery, so their efficiency may go up to 85% to 90%. But if we talked about the hydrogen batteries or hydrogen power plant, so in that case, the efficiency is around hardly 30 to 40%, not more than that. So that means a huge energy loss is also there. Now, grid integration. And not only that, there are several battery energy storage system is also there. We can also some hydrogen now new invention is that hydrogen battery. And we can also think of compressed air energy storage, thermal energy storage. We can also think of it. And grid integration issue. That is, traditionally our grids were designed for centralized generation, large thermal or hydro plants feeding electricity through transmission network down to distribution and consumer. This top-down model assumes predictable one-way power flow and stable generation at the source. It was known that how much generation in my hand, but for the for renewable energy integration, in that case, we don't know how much generation is there or how much generation we will get. So the key challenges: voltage fluctuation feeders with variable PVP generation, protection coordination become complex when power can flow both ways. Demand supply balancing becomes more dynamic and less predictable. Communication and control infrastructure must involve to real-time representation. So, and transmission constraint, reduce system inertia and stability issue. Unlike conventional generator, most renewable connect by electronics lack heavy rotating mass that provides system inertia, which naturally resists rapid frequency changes. And faster frequency ramps with less inertia, any sudden imbalance between generation and demand causes faster and larger frequency deviation, increasing the risks of cascading failure of the system. Need for virtual inertia. To compensate the grid requires advanced solution like virtual inertia. If we talk about the transmission constant, that is renewable zone from the far from demand center, congestion and losses in the congestion transmission corridor. One of the major issues is the geographical mismatch between the renewable generation zone and high demand urban center. For instance, India's solar and wind resources are concentrated in states like Rajasthan, Gujarat, and Tamil Nadu, but the highest demand often lies in industrial and urban clusters far away, such as Delhi or Mumbai. The distance creates heavy dependence on long transmission line, which often face congestion, high losses, and limited capacity to transfer renewable power sources. So even also if we have sufficient power, then the transmission may be the transmission corridor may be an issue. There may not we may not have the capability to transfer that much of power to where it is necessary. Policy and regulatory barriers. So far, we have discussed technical aspect of grid modernization, but even with the best technology and financial models, progress can stall if the policy and regulatory ecosystem is not supportive. A major obstacle in advancing grid modernization is the policy uncertainty. Many countries, including India, face frequent policy changes, short-term targets, and fragmented regulation across state and agencies. Policy acts as the backbone of modernization. Clear, long-term, and consistent regulation provide investment confidence. Suppose, and recently, for the policy, some policies has been introduced like renewable purchase obligation (RPO). Then that some utilities or the consumer have to buy certain % of power from the renewable resources. So such kind of policies actually will act as in favor of this grid modernization technique. Land and environmental impact. Everybody is well aware that for installing renewable energy, we have required a large free space. It's actually a huge free land is required for installing solar or wind power, because if we don't have much space, then wind will not be able to get speeds. It will be a hindrance. And for solar also, there are required a free land for installing around 5 giga land is required for 1 megawatt solar power. Economic viability modernizing the grid through renewable storage, automation, and digital platform demands significant upfront capital investment. In many countries, fossil fuels subsidies still make conventional energy appear cheaper. Now we have generated the electricity through renewable. Now, if it's not cheaper, then how consumer will be encouraged to use that renewable energy. So we have to keep into mind that it should also be cheaper. So I have already now we know that whatever the challenges we have, intermittency availability. Now, whatever the scope, how to overcome these challenges. So we can think of how to mitigate this intermittency availability. We can think hybrid renewable system where solar, wind, and biomass, demand response, and flexible loads. Here the demand response, we can say that in case of now some we should introduce some kind of policies or some kind of tariff that we can restrict the demand of the consumer. Suppose a consumer is feeding 50 megawatt or 50 megawatt power. In that case, when the system needed, that system there is a there is not much more generation. So at that time, we can restrict the demand to 50 megawatt for the consumer. But for that reason, I will give the some kind of relief or some kind of compensation to the consumer. So this kind of tariff may be implemented for demand response and flexible loads. So that the consumer can allow us to maintain his, access his, restrict his load. And in addition to that intermittency, we can also some other intermittency. We can also use the mitigation through long duration energy storage system. There are some in some event like Dunkel flutter. So then event Dunkel flutter is the event where is the low wind and low solar irradiation. So in that case, generally capacity factors bring down to 5%. Generally, the solar capacity factor around 25 to 30%. So that bring down to 5% or more, or it may be less. So in that event, we can use think of long duration energy storage system, green hydrogen and other long duration energy storage system. We can also think of pump storage system. So efficiency of pump storage system is much more higher than the green hydrogen and other long duration energy storage systems. So this is the small flow diagram in that when there is much more, when there is excess renewable energy generation, so that time we can pump back this water from low reservoir to upper reservoir, and when there is a necessity of electricity or deficit in electricity, or in the event of at night time, we can run this hydro. We can run this hydro power plant through this upper reservoir water. So I already talked that the main limitation is the high cost and limited duration, because we can't build a gigawatt range park. Batteries. So nowadays, though the hydrogen can have that capacity, but in that case, round trip efficiency is less. So there are different types of energy storage system. Electromechanical storage. There is electromechanical storage, lithium-ion batteries, flow batteries, sodium-ion batteries, solid-state batteries. Mechanical storage, pump hydrogen storage, compressed air energy storage, flywheels. Thermal storage, melt and salt storage. Electrical storage, that is hydrogen storage or supercapacitor or ultra capacitor, we can say. This is the grid integration. We have already talked about these things. So, reduced system, conventional energy system, thermal provide mechanical inertia that stabilize frequency. That stabilize the frequency. Renewable system like solar lack natural inertia, which we actually get for thermal or hydrogen, that is rotating mass is there. So we get that inertia, but in case of renewable system, we don't get that natural inertia. So rapid loss of inertia leads to frequency deviation and voltage instability. So what we can do? We can do that synthetic or virtual inertia using inverter-based resources. So we can model that virtual inertia with the we have that battery and some kind of grid with the grid forming inverter and the batteries. We can create the virtual inertia also. We can, and fast response, fast frequency response. There are some gas power plant is there which can be instantly, ramp up the output and instantly ramp up. So those kind of plants we can add up with this to mitigate this kind of low inertia and instability issue. The system inertia, what will happen? Rapid frequency deviation. So in that case, if we don't have backup, backup means some kind of, you can say some kind of battery energy storage or some kind of pump hydro storage or gas power plant. If we have, then we can mitigate this issue. So if we take about a see the small statistics. So a sharp decline in rotation energy or conventional system inertia. In 2010, the rotation energy was in gigajoule, 450 gigajoule. So more the rotation energy means more the inertia, and less the rotation energy means less inertia. So now in 2024, the rotation energy which was in 2010 450, now in 2024 it's around 280 gigajoule. So this much of rotation energy we have actually already lost. So what happened? So due to loss of this rotation energy, so we are not getting that natural inertia. So we have to build some synthetic inertia so that we can make up, we don't have any stability issue during a huge load fluctuation. So what we can do, we know that this is the swing equation everybody we know. So in that case, what we can say that whatever the energy deficit or whatever the change in frequency, so that will the change in frequency with time. So we can model, or we can model this inject synthetic inertia like P inject. Power injection will be K synthetic inertia gain into frequency deviation, a change of frequency. So in that case, so power, if we can model such kind of such thing in our inverter with the backup inverter with battery, so this inverter will inject the power equivalent which is required to maintain the frequency, because we know how much frequency deviation is there with respect to time. So power injection will be the synthetic energy gain into frequency deviation. So we also mitigation technique, we can short-term and stability challenges, fast responding generation, dispatch open cycle gas turbines to full power, energy storage, demand response or demand side management. We can also some kind of, we can reduce the load by some portion. Suppose I already given an example that when a consumer is having 100 gigawatt power, we can reduce his load to 50 megawatt. We also know that whenever there is a fluctuation in generation, there should be some fluctuation in voltage also. So this actually impact the power quality issue. So in that case, we can use a smart inverter to mitigate these issues. Transmission for renewable is zones far away from demand center. So because of that, so this power, suppose the power is generated at Tamil Nadu but the power deficiency is at Delhi. So this much of, we should use this corridor between the Tamil Nadu and Delhi. So if we don't have that capacity, if the transmission line doesn't have that capacity to carry that much of power, so then they can, it will be the worst of energy, because even also I have the generation at Tamil Nadu, but I can feed that power to Delhi. So for this reason, we can say develop HVDS or fax-based flexible transmission line. Virtual transmission line we can also use. Transmission planning with renewable energy zones, grid integration and regional balancing. So what is actually virtual transmission line? Virtual transmission line is nothing but, suppose suppose if we transmit power between a point A and B, so both the points having some battery capacity. When there is a deficit, excess generation of power, or so that time we can store that energy, and when there is there is lack of power, so that time their energy, their battery will discharge. Suppose at point A, now at point A, we have the energy deficiency. And at point B, we have the excess power. So the battery at point A, that time will discharge. And battery at point B, that time it will store energy. So that the overall balance of this energy will make it zero. If we write the equation, so that time it's like flowing the power like that. Already talked about the land issue. High capital cost, lack flexible market economy. Why grid modernization has become essential? So this slide provides the context and urgency of our entire presentation by dealing the major forces and challenges that necessitate the fundamental change in our electricity network. So the rapid growth, renewable energy now supplying around 33% of the global electricity. Now in India, our target is 500 gigawatt non-fossil fuel capacity by 2030, bringing massive solar and wind integration. So this demands requires two-way power flow, smart forecasting, and energy storage to maintain balance. The strain of changing grid, aging infrastructure, legacy grid are not built for the distributed and dynamic generation. Rising demand, EV, data center. What now currently the trend is that back in 90s, before when we have actually built our grid or we have built our generation, so that time this data center concept and EV vehicle concept was not there. So what happened now in everywhere, in most of the countries, there are huge data center are being created. So this is a sudden load, it has came, it was not in mind. What we can analyze, we can suppose on every year a demand is increasing. So we know how much demand is coming in the next year. We can, there are different methods there, we can calculate based on that. But if a new technology or new things come, so that which was not in our mind, so that is we are not considering. So that actually giving our that will trace in the grid. So EVs and data center and urban electrification increase pressure on the existing network. High losses, distribution losses of 10 to 30% in India highlight the need for smart metering and automation. So inverter-based resources lack stabilizing spin of conventional generator transmission. Current networks cannot efficiently move power from renewable reach to demand-heavy region. The non-negotiable reliability and power quality. Digital economics need near zero downtime. Low site IP levels are essential. Momentary outage and voltage dips can disrupt industrial and data center. Suppose in data center, what we do, suppose, or in case of storing some CCTV footage. So that time, if the power interruption happens, so what will happen? So there will be the interruption of recording. So this we should keep into our mind. The grid modernization is the backbone of sustainable energy future, ensuring resilience, reliability, and readiness for a decarbonized world. Now, definition of grid modernization. What is grid modernization? That is, grid modernization refers to the process of upgrading the existing traditional electric power grid with advanced technologies, smart infrastructure, and innovative practices to make it more resilient, reliable, secure, affordable, flexible, sustainable, and capable of integrating renewable energy and emerging resources. It ensures the grid can meet future energy demands while addressing challenges of efficiency, safety, and environmental responsibility. So grid, the diagram places grid modernization at the center and surrounded by the key attributes. Resilient ability. Resilient means ability to withstand and recover from hazards. If something hazards happen in the grid, so how it will be, how quickly it will, how is the ability of that grid to withstand and how quickly it will recover from that hazards. Reliable, consistent supply of electricity with minimal interruption. Secure, protection against physical and cyber threats. Clean integration of renewable energy and low emission. Affordable, economically viable power system. Safe, compliance with safety hazards. Accessible electricity access for all communities. Flexible or adaptable. Handle dynamic demand and supply conditions. Now, how to modernize grid, smart and digital transformation?
Sir, sorry to interrupt you.
Yes, 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 sir.
Sir, your voice is not audible.
Do you have any question? Sorry?
We are not getting the voice.
Sir, you are not clearly audible, sir. Am I audible to all?
Yes, sir, it is audible.
Sir, you might have some network issue. Please, am I not audible to you?
Sir, you are audible, sir.
Sir, you are audible, sir.
Okay, okay. Do you have anybody have any question right now? Let me finish my session first. Then if you have any questions, we will take your questions here. So how to manage a grid, smart and digital transformation?
Sir, your voice is not audible, sir. Sir, please unmute your mic.
Let me check. Let me check.
Sir, it is, I think now it is audible, sir.
You are audible now?
Yes, sir.
Am I
Now
audible
you are
now?
audible, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Clearly, am I clearly audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. Is my screen visible to all?
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. So, how to modernize the grid, smart and digital transformation. So, connect the we can also integration of renewable energy, connect solar, wind, and other renewable sources efficiently using smart inverters and flexible grid connection. Use energy storage systems, batteries, pump hydro, hydrogen to balance variable renewable output. Decentralization and flexibility, promote distribution energy resources like rooftop solar, electric vehicles, and microgrid. Develop virtual power plants that aggregate and control multiple small energy resource sources to act as single and flexible power plant. And also virtual inertia, use power electronics and control inverters to emulate stabilizing effect of traditional rotating mass, maintaining frequency stability in renewable rich grids. Strengthening infrastructure and virtual transfer, upgrade aging lines and substation with underground cables, high capacity conductor, and modern protection system. Develop virtual transmission lines, advanced power flow control, and energy storage system that virtually expand transfer capacity without building new lines. Adopt ringman configuration and redundant paths for improved resilience. Cybersecurity and resilience, strengthen cyber protection for digital grid components. Policy, regulation, and investment, implement clear policies, incentive for renewable integration, virtual power plants and smart grid innovation, remote public-private partnership, and funding for modernization projects. So this is the traditional grid versus modern grid. So earlier we have thought about the traditional grid, one-way power flow from large centralized power plants to consumer. Now, in modern grid, two-way and multi-directional power flow between generators, consumers, and prosumers. Centralized generation architecture is a centralized fossil fuel-based generation, mainly coal, 70% of total generation in 2024, with some hydro and gas. Generation architecture distributed and renewable energy based. India has installed 190 gigawatt renewable capacity in 2025. Solar around 87 gigawatt, wind around 35 gigawatt, hydro 87 gigawatt, bio 11 gigawatt. Limited automation and manual monitoring through SCADA only at transmission level. Supervisory control and data acquisition systems and advanced distribution management system ADMS integrated with smart meter as per IS 16444 and IS 15959 standards. So now the consumer role, passive consumer only draw electricity. Earlier in our grid, consumer only draw the electricity. Now the active consumer can both generate and sell electricity. Example, net meter, rooftop solar under Central Electricity Authority Grid Connectivity Regulation 2020. So reliability, the need of reliability matrices in modern grid. The outcome of modernization is the smart grid. The modernization journey as the grid becomes more modernized and smarter, the definition of good performance evolves. It's no longer just about keeping the lights on, but about ensuring quality, resilience, and predictability of power in a highly dynamic environment. 5 measures reliability. For utilities to identify weak spots, justify modernization, investment, and improve operations performance. For regulators, establish benchmark and standards for service quality, ensure accountability and transparency in utility operation. For consumer, gain clarity on power quality and outage performance. Empower energy dependent industries to plan better. Introducing reliability indices from ability to accountability, measuring what matters. Reliability indices, how often do outage occur, how long do they last, and how many customers are affected. So what is power system reliability? Power system is the measure of an electrical system ability to supply continuous electric power to all customers at an acceptable level of quality and in the required quantity. It's essentially the probability of a normal operation of the electrical grid at any given time. IEEE 1366 of 2012 provides a common language and a rigorous statistical framework for quantifying the reliability of an electrical power system distribution. So this is the reliability indices as per IEEE 1366 of 2012. SIFI system average interruption frequency index, how often an average customer experience an interruption. KID, customer average interruption duration index, average time to restore an interruption. SID, system average interruption duration index, total number of minutes of interruption experienced by an average customer. Product of SIFI and KID. Momentary average interruption, MIFI, momentary average interruption frequency index, how often an average customer experience a momentary interruption or trip. KEMI, customer experience multiple interruption, the percentage of customer having 3 or 5 time interruptions in a set period, often expressed as CME3 or CME5. So these all SIFI, KID, SID, MIFI, KEMI, these are all the reliability, transmission and distribution reliability indices. So IEEE Standard 1366/2021 defines method of calculating SID, SIFI, MIFI, KEMI. The Central Electricity Authority India reliability standards, urban areas should aim for SID less than 150 minutes per year, SIFI less than 1.5 per year. So, and reliability indices, there are other reliability indices also there. Average system interruption frequency index, SIF and SID, average system interruption duration index. The frequency of interruption weighted by amount of load affected, and the total impact of outage duration weighted by load affected. So this is the formula. Later on we'll see one by one. So this is the SID, system average duration index. So the total average duration of interruption per customer. So this is the formula SID, where UR is the outage duration hours at location I, NI is the number of customer affected, and NT is the total number of customers served. So if we take about the example, suppose a system has 100 customers. Outage 1, 2 hours affecting 500 customer. Outage 2, 1 hour affecting 300 customer. So there is a 100,000 number of customer. One power goes off for 2 hours, which affect 500 customer. And another case, power goes off for 1 hour, affecting 300 customers. So how we will calculate? This is the formula. So 2 into 500 plus 1 into 300 divided by 1000, that is 1.3 hours per customer. So in that case, so SID will be 1.3 hours per customer. Implication: utilities use SID to identify weak spot in the grid. A lower SID indicates better reliability. Regulatory agencies often set benchmark SID less than 2 hours per year in some regions. SIFI, system average interruption frequency index. So SID actually is different duration. So how much duration power is not there per customer, average per customer, and this is the how many times it's happening. So average number of times a customer experiences sustained interruption in a period, usually interruption per customer per year. Suppose a system has 1000 customer. So case 1, 2 hours affecting 500 customer, and case 2, 1 hour affecting 300 customers. So SIFI equal to total number of customer interruption divided by total number of customers served. So here actually total number of customer affected 500, here total number of customer affected 300. So 500 plus 300 divided by 1000, that is around 0.8 per customer per year. So KID, customer average interruption duration index. So measure the average time to restore service once an outage occurs. It answers when the lights goes out and how long do they stay out. So customer interruption duration, total number of customer interruption. This is basically SID by SIFI. So KID equal to summation of customer interruption duration and divide by total number of customer interruption. So this is, in that case, power goes off for 2 hours for 500 customers. So this is customer interruption duration. Total customer 500 into 2 hour into 2 into 1 hour into 300 divided by total customer affected 500 plus 300, 800. So 1.6 to 0. Hours per customer. That means if the power goes off, so consumer will get the power after 1.25 hours average, on an average. So SIFI tells how often outage occurs, SID tells how long they last overall, and KID tells how long each one lasts on average. might be momentary average interruption frequency index. Measure the average frequency of, this is also one kind of psi, but here is the momentary means the power is coming and going. Power is coming and going within 5 minutes. So this we accumulate in separate category. So that is MIFI. Measures the average frequency of momentary interruption events lasting for a few seconds to 5 minutes, often caused by auto reclosing devices experienced by customer over a period. MIFI, total number of customer momentary interruption, the total number of customers served. Reflects power quality and reliability from the customer perspective. High MIFI means customer are experiencing frequent short blinks or voltage sag. Crucial for industrial and digital consumers, where even short interruption can cause equipment trips or data loss. This is a chemical customer and multiple interruption. In some areas, we may have the experience that in a particular area, consumer in a day, consumer is interruption. So in that case, we have separate indices or separate index, that is chemi. Number of customers experience n or more interruption, total number of customers served into 100. So n equal to threshold number of interruption 1, 2, 3 maybe. Total customer suppose 1000, customer is greater than 1 hour, 1 interruption 2000, and customer with greater than 5 interruption 500. So in that case, chemi 1 20% and chemi 5, that is 5%. 5%. 500 by 1000 into 100, so that is 5%, and 2000 by 10,000 into 100, that is around 20%. So now, so far we have started the indices of transmission and distribution reliability indices. But the general reliability statistics. But here we study the generation reliability indices. Assess the adequacy and dependability of generation system to meet customer demand at all times, even under outage or fluctuating renewable energy. These are used by the system planner to ensure this is enough power plant capacity. Generation indices evaluate if enough power is produced, while transmission and distribution indices evaluates if the power reaches the customer. So this is a key generation reliability indices, that is loss of load expectation. Expected duration when generation is insufficient to meet the load. Unit is around days per year or hours per year. How long shortage occur? This is loss of load probability. Probability that available generation less than demand at a given time. The ends expected energy not served. Expected energy not served due to capacity shortfall. That is megawatt hour per year or gigawatt hour per year. Severity of energy deficit. Force. This is indicate the severity of energy deficit. How likely shortage occurs. This indicates, and force outage rate. Probability that a generating unit is unavailable when required. Unit level reliabilities. How much it is reliable, a unit is reliable. Suppose there are 5 number of units or 5 number of generator is there in a power plant. Now, if the for a particular generator, if the for rate is high, that means that there is a high probability of not getting that particular generator when it needed. Later on, we will come one by one. Loss of load expectation. I'm just as the time is quite short, so I'm just skipping some of the slide. Loss of load expectation. This is expected duration when the available generation is not enough to meet the demand. So whatever the demand is there, but my capacity is not that much. So in that case, loss of how much loss of load expectation is there. This is the probability method. It's not happening in real life. We calculate it by probabilistic method. There is capacity expansion planning method is there. So in that method, we consider all these things. This is the loss of load probability in a short period when we calculate. So in that case, we actually call it loss of load probability. If we integrate it over a year, so this is will lowly. Expected energy not served. This is how much energy deficit will be there. Now we know that how many times there will be the loss of load expectation. Now we will calculate how much energy will not be able to serve. So this is the ends expected energy not serve. So this is calculated in this scenario. Value of loss load. Now, as I am not able to serve the total load, as we have having some we are not having that much of adequate capacity. So in that case, so if what will be the value of the loss load? So high vol means the power interruption are very costly to the consumer. For industrial and hospital or IT sector, so 1 hour, I mean, suppose I am not capable to serve him for 30 minutes or 1 hour. So in that case, there is a huge loss for the consumer. And low vol indicates that consumer can tolerate short outage with minimal economic impact. If a factory loses 50,000 worth of production during an outage where 10 megawatt hour of energy was served, so vol will be around 5,000 per megawatt hour. That means 5,001. This means 1 megawatt of energy, unserved energy, cost the customer around 5,000 in economic loss. Force outage rate. Force outage is the probability that a generating unit is unavailable due to produce electricity due to an unplanned outage when it is required to be in operation. So, for high generator frequently fails, lower system reliability and low for generator is more dependable and available when needed. This is the levelized cost of energy. I'm not talking about much. So, in our distribution, what is the losses is very important. So what will happen? A small scenario is there. Distribution loss in India can range from 10 to 30% or more, depending on the state infrastructure. So gross demand and discount subtraction. So net energy sold to the consumer divided by 1 minus distribution loss factor. Suppose a discount supplies 1000 megawatt hour units to its consumer, net energy. Its average distribution loss around are 15%. So gross demand will be 1176 megawatt hour. This means that the discount must draw 1176 megawatt from the state transmission grid to deliver 1000 megawatt hour to its customer. That extra 176 megawatt hour is lost as heat in its local wires. So this much of energy is being lost. So if we can save a percentage of this energy, so we'll be benefited, or the utility will be benefited. The secondly, the state interstate transmission losses. The gross demand and boundary, there is discount gross demand divided by 1 minus extra interstate transmission loss factor. Assume that total gross demand from all discoms is 10,000 megawatt hour. Interstate transmission losses are around 4%. So gross demand at state boundary will be 10,417 megawatt hour. So here also 417 megawatt hour is lost. And interstate transmission losses are relatively low, say 2 to 30%, but are still accommodated national level or CTU accountable interstate transmission losses. So the total generation required from a power plant is the sum of the net energy consumed by the end user and all the losses along the entire path. So if we talk DISCOM forecast the net demand at distribution level, suppose DISCOM forecasted 1000 units. So DISCOM add distribution losses to calculate gross demand. So gross demands will come. So DISCOM at the rate 15% is the TND loss of the, transmission distribution loss of the DISCOM, if we consider. So if the DISCOM loss is 15%, the DISCOM gross demand is around 1176.47 units. Now this much of energy required by this for this utility. So what if the interstate loss is 4%, the STU required is to 2.5 units. And so ultimately for the generator output must cover all losses plus net demand, generator 120. So that means 125.6.91 units to ensure the end consumer receives 1000 units they needed. So we have generate 125.6.99 units so that the consumer get 10,000 units. So if we, this is actually a scenario. So if we generate 1256 megawatt hour here in this power plant, so at the end user we will get 1000 gigawatt. That means 256 megawatt hour will be lost in this transmission line in the different stages, and national boundary, state boundary, and discoms level. Now we'll talk about some margin, planning region margin. So this is the planning region margin. Why it is necessary? This is necessary because planning region is the reliability indicator in power system planning. It represents the extra capacity available or forecasted peak demand, expressed as percentage of the total demand. Suppose we know how much. Suppose we have calculated peak demand that in 2030 there will be a peak demand of around, suppose 100 gigawatt hour or 100 gigawatt.